alive in a while. Uh, I want you to see something. I want you to take a good look. This is me when I put on my makeup. Now, I'm no spring chicken, and I don't pretend to be. I'm okay with who I am. I worked hard to get to this age. And the fact that I look this good is amazing to me. I can't say that I look great. I can't those days. But um, I gotta tell you, I really did miss y'all, and I thought, maybe I should clean myself up and act like they're important to see. Uh, yeah, I'm not sure what to talk about. I mean, there's so many different topics. When you think about it, it's kind of insane. Uh, you know, well, this, for instance, uh, most of the kind of work I do, you don't want to be wearing makeup. Honestly, you don't. Uh, now, my mother and my sister had these very in-depth skin regimens, and I can't say honestly they aged any better or less, any better than I did. My mother was 78 years old, but she had such a strict regimen until she was in, I don't know, 75 maybe years old, that she finally just, why am I still doing this? And of course, her face, it had very little wrinkles. And that's the truth. I have frown line, thought line, what do you call these? And I have laugh and frown lines here, and the softening of the jaws, and just the normal stuff that happens when you get older. I usually don't put on makeup because when you're looking that close in the mirror, it's bad enough you see all your flaws. But for me, I'm doing it half blind now. I have to take off my glasses to do eye makeup or cheek makeup or anything like that. And it really feels kind of heavy on my skin, to be honest. I quit using the powder foundations, but all I have, because it was my mother's, is a powder foundation. And so I had to use it. I don't like them with aged skin. Powder is very bad. It gets heavy and deep in your crevices and your wrinkles, and it actually weighs down your skin. So I promise you, I will wear this for a short time, and then I'll go back to being me. Um, let's see what you about. I've got a lot going on. I know you can hear the dings of my phone. Let me see what they are. Okay, it's just the normal chitter chatter. Uh, so, um, welcome. I'm Angel Reader. Well, everybody calls me Angel. My full name is Angelique. My mother named me after a book, a whole book series actually. It was called Angelique the Adventurer. And she read it as a young girl. And then when I was born, she thought it was the perfect name. And I was quite the adventurer. I did a lot of stuff on my own. Uh, Stayed away from the cities. It was too dangerous. I mean, the country could be just as dangerous. There's some real weirdos out there. I had a man try to kidnap me when I was 14. I was at a party and I hung around with the wild kids, and they were all my cousins, so what the hell? Uh, but we went to this man's party, and he lived way out in the boonies, and he handcuffed me to his couch, which was built into his wall. So it wasn't like I could just move the couch, uh, and he held on to me for 3 days. I'm not going to tell you what happened during those 3 days. That is really personal. And let's just say my family set things right. Old Ben never did it again. Um, and no, he's still alive. But when you mess with family and you're in their town, even if you're on the outskirts, and you mess with family and they find out about it, you're going to face the pitfalls. As he did, he was chased out of there. I'm sure I was not the first person he ever did that to. But when I got away, I found one of my cousins, and it took me several hours to get back to Harrisburg, the town I was living in Arkansas. And because when you're doing it on foot and you don't want to go out on the road because he's looking for you, um, it's a rough trek down that mountain. But I made it, survived. Here I am, and but my name. Thank you, Mama, for picking it a good one for me. I really like my name. Uh, but everyone who knows me calls me Angel, or Angel, Granny, Hun, Mom. I have many names. I guess we all do as we get older. We kind of accumulate family names. Um, I yes, I'm in blue today. It keeps catching my eye because I do my nails occasionally. I usually don't do them except for in the wintertime because my nails, they grow like this naturally. They're not fake nails. These are mine, and I would show them to you, but I did a terrible job painting them. And well, okay, but they're mine all the way. And yeah, um, bright cherry colors, and that's kind of what I was going for today. Uh, Now, earlier today, I brought up some topics about because it is time, to find our next president. And I want people to reject these people that are running for president. I know it's a lot to ask, but if you want to change things and you don't want to fight physically, go to war and rebel, you always got to try the nonviolent uh, methods first. You know, Black people are not the only people who idolize Martin Luther King. Um, I did because my family's mixed. And I thought everybody should have a right to be free. Everybody. I know you see a white girl, but I don't. I see a human. I'm no longer part of the white race. I'm not. I'm just part of the human race because it's the one race that unites us all, no matter where you're from, what color you are, what language you speak. I mean, I love seeing the videos from Russia. I really do. I love the British ones. My husband watches a lot of reels on Facebook while I'm working around the house and doing what I do. And so, I often hear what he's watching. I don't see what's happening, but I hear it. And I love the accents. I got to tell you, it's so wonderful to hear other people sharing their lives and some of the differences and enjoying it. Enjoying it. I hear so much laughter. I know a lot of these videos, people just go laugh happy. And it's because it does get the videos. When you are laughing at someone doing something outrageous and you hear all this echoing laugh of the wife, the girlfriend, or whoever she is, and the poor gentleman, I feel sorry for the most of the men are watching those videos. They actually, the prank ones, I had to stop watching them because I told my husband, don't you get any ideas, because if you get ideas, I get to have ideas. And we are not prank people because I have a bad heart, and startling me is dangerous, so we don't do it. And that really limits the fun we can have together. I mean, it's well, it sucks, as the young people say. I think that's still saying it wasn't my day. I don't know. Uh, let's see. Oh, as for the Gen X and Gen this and Gen that, I'm none of those. Yeah, I'm just an old lady, and I've earned that. I have earned my old ladiness. And for those people who commented on some of my other videos, WTF, who let Granny on here, I let Granny on here. I never got stuff like this growing up. The first TVs I ever saw, actual television program I ever watched, was Gilligan's Island. I was almost 7 years old. And it was because my mother married my adopted father, who was a good earner. Let's put it. And so he had a television. It was a small one because he had an apartment when they first got together, but he got rid of the apartment, bought a house and a bigger TV. And I watched TV go from black and white to color. And what we thought was color back then is nothing like today. I mean, wow. And we thought it was just this incredible because it was no longer black and white. You could see all these details you couldn't see in the black and white images. And uh, so growing up like that, with those limitations, and then going out into the world real young, I didn't have a lot of access to radios or record players. Um, I did occasionally have them around, and I used them. Oh boy, I used them, but they were not permanent fixtures in my life like today's. My grandchildren have phones. My grandson, my youngest grandson, is 2, and of course he doesn't know how to use all of the, but he uses all the videos, the games, the everything, and it's all done on a phone because that's all his parents can afford for him. And but they're exposed to it. They're homeschooled, and even my grandson, the youngest one, is a part of the learning already, like it used to be when I was a kid. When I was a kid, my mother taught me how to fold clothes. By the time I was 2, 3 years old, I was folding laundry, um, washing dishes. By the time I could, as soon as I could stand on the chair and be above the sink enough to be able to control the temperature of the water, I was washing dishes. Not today's kids. Oh, and look at this. This is what I call uh, my $400 dish rack. And it's a good one. It's a Whirlpool. I don't know if you can see that. The lighting is real bad, but it's a Whirlpool. And I bought it almost 3 years ago, not too long before my mother died. And I bought it because she wanted it. And I find it a waste of time. I still have to wash the dishes to put them in to run it. No, I don't mess with that. I wash it. It's a drain rack. It holds my dishes wonderfully while they dry. And I don't even bother with the waste of electricity. That thing actually, it takes over an hour for it to run, and I can get my dishes can be all the way full, the whole kitchen full. And in an hour, they're all clean, and my floor is swept. My counters are clean, not just my dishes. And so that's my $400 drain rack. It's worked pretty good from last time I used it. I mean, kind of, I guess. Well, the dishes were already clean when I put them in. So that doesn't count because, and I did try it the way they show on the commercials. Stick that plate in there, scrape the food off, of course, and then just put the plate in there. Mm-mm. I spent 2 hours cleaning up the dishwasher. So no thank you. Whirlpool, very disappointed. Oh, the water sprays, brand new, but it had no pressure. It just kind of spewed it out and didn't really do anything with the dishes. Huge waste of time. I don't know uh, who came up with this idea. Maybe the original one was better. I mean, the very first ones back in the what 20s, 30s, when they first came out with dishwashers. That's like an expensive refrigerator used to be $400, and it had water, ice maker, all the little goodies, plenty of shelf room. And now that same refrigerator will cost you about two grand. And then if you really want to get all the goodies, like the water and the ice maker, that those are add-ons. And then if you want the modern home thing where you get the smart refrigerator that makes a shopping list for you, and that's all. It doesn't buy your groceries. It doesn't come up with the money to buy your groceries. It just tells you you're out of this. Waste of money. And they're asking for $5,000 for these things. Are people really buying them? Are they really wasting that much money? Do they have that kind of money to throw away? Wow. If you do, wow. I mean, God bless you. But I think instead of that, you probably help maybe one of your family members get a business off the ground, or I don't know, help someone at your church. I don't know what to tell you to do with. I can't tell you what to do with your own money, but the thought of spending $5,000 on a refrigerator that's no bigger than the one I've got, all because it can make me a grocery list and it has a window I can look in and see what I want before I get it. Which usually I already know what I want when I go in the fridge. We had this rule when I was growing up about electricity. My dad was a harper on that one. Turn off that light switch. You're not in that room. Don't you dare turn that heat up. You better know what you're going to get in the fridge before you open that door. That's what I grew up with. And I don't know about y'all. I mean, it was fun, I guess. You know, I, I really have watched the cost of living in my lifetime go astronomical. And my mother tells me, and no, you're looking at it wrong, honey. And she was right because it also was going that way in her lifetime. But in America, as a young adult, we went through this phase of uh, we got to get pay hikes, and the companies won't do it, so we got to go through the government and raise our minimum wage. And we should have known that was a mistake. No company, especially a big company, is going to cut into their own profit to pay their employees more. They never have. They raise the price, so it's still coming out of our pocket. You don't get to keep it. And this is the modern economy. Wages go up, cost of everything else goes up with it. Even if McDonald's raised their wage $12 an hour, okay, and I'm a McDonald's worker, $12 an hour, but right now rents are for a one or two bedroom, if you're lucky, in a halfway safe neighborhood, about 800 a month. Okay, give them that $12 an hour. But in doing that, they got $12 an hour. So their landlord raised the rent. The power company raised their rate fees. And as this ripple effect is what they call it. I, I don't know how many people have ever experienced it. Well, everybody does, but you don't really recognize it until you start looking back at things. And the home I have, if it had not been for my mother giving it to me, I would not have it. And as far as she was concerned, I was the only person who would love her home the way she did. I was the only one left. My sister Patricia was set to inherit this house. And every year I panic. My income is low. Okay, I don't bring in a lot. Very rare. I personally earn any kind of money. It's very rare. I mean, I do, but it's not ever a lot. Uh, and my husband works his tail off. You know, he's a door dasher. Well, here in Arkansas, there's not a whole lot of job opportunities. He's used to working in huge warehouses, making really good money, but also having half of it come out of his check for his medical insurance on me. And at one point, one of my grandkids, uh, half, 700 a month was coming out for my medical insurance. I never got to use, not once. Every time I would end up needing to go to the doctor or whatever, they wouldn't accept whatever insurance my husband's company was carrying at the time. And they always were changing. And we never got our money back from those insurance companies that we paid and never used. We never got a penny back. Thousands of dollars. And we were hustled out of it as far as I see it. I think that an insurance company who fails to uphold its contract and forces a company to go find another insurance company should have to pay back every employee who put money in to that insurance and didn't get to use it or didn't use it for whatever reasons. That money should be paid back. It should not be just a loss out of that person's pocket. I am so sorry, so sick of the manipulation that takes your hard earned money. I know I sound materialistic, but I'm sorry. I have to have electricity. If I without my electricity, I have no water, I have no heat, I can't cook, I gotta have it. But they make sure to get the chunk they think they earned from me. And I keep seeing that chunk getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Conglomerates run our government. They are what they call a shadow government. That's where billionaires make the decisions that through lobbyists they pay our representatives off to do what they want. The majority do not want their children taught in school that they don't have to be a girl if they don't want to be. They don't have to be a boy if they don't want to be. That should not be a part of any child's education. Yet, our federal government is trying to force this down people's throats. Our governors from individual states are trying to force this down parents' throats. My grandchildren are all being educated, yes, but not in public schools and never will again because my daughter found out I was right. She thought that it might be a good idea to put her oldest into school because she's in high school and give her that experience. Her grades are well above average. Beautiful girl, very intelligent, very charming as well. Very delightful girl. But her mother won't put her in a public school because I had told her about Austin, our capital there in Texas, approving a mandatory uh, sex education be modified to allow pornography, to allow boys in girls' bathrooms, girls in boys' bathrooms. And then they want to chemically castrate our sons and grandsons. And they say, well, it's only temporary until they're old enough and understand what it means to make a baby. It just suppresses their puberty. Excuse me, I've seen what that garbage does and the cancers it causes. You are not going to convince me. And I hope to God you don't convince other people that this is healthy for their children because they want to put girls on male hormones to stop them from going into puberty. Now, I have been put on testosterone. And a doctor told me that was part of my problem. Well, I was chemically imbalanced. Yeah, almost killed 2 people. I have anger issues, but not like that. I felt like they put me on steroids. And as far as I know, they probably did. I mean, I learned in my 20s to not trust the medical community because they were racking up my bills. And I came from poor area, so there was no leeway in my budget for medical bills. And even though we had insurance and we paid deductibles and did all that, our insurance costs went up every single time we had to use it. Every time. Even for minor things. One time my son had to get 3 stitches right here in his eyebrow. He fell down and he fell on rubber padding and it just happened to hit just right and it split the skin open enough that he actually needed, I think it was 2 or 3 stitches. Well, Burger King had just put this padding in their store because of so many kids falling on the steps, trying to jump in the balls and, do what kids do. And I took my son and I paid for his stitches. But the medical bill went to my husband's insurance. Even though it showed pay, it showed that there had been an incident with my son having our insurance went up by $27 the next month. I can't even take my kids in and pay for it myself without my insurance company figuring out a way to hike my rates. No, thank you. And these are the conglomerates that are our government. If you think that guy sitting up there on the Supreme Court works for you, now you got me laughing. When they turned over Roe versus Wade, I knew. I knew. Yep. The church had got back into the government where it didn't belong. And our Constitution outright says so. So if you want to push your agenda, others have a right to push theirs. And we will get Roe versus Wade overturned again and back in place. You know why? Because we're going to be tired of seeing our children butchering themselves to keep themselves from having babies, as is what happened in the 50s and 60s and early 70s until it was overturned. I was alive and around very much for all of that. And I was in a big city. So I really got to see them protest and what they were saying. And you can blame your Christians. Thank you, Christians, for butchering our children because you give them no other. Every single Christian better adopt 10 children. I mean it. I don't care what age group. Adopt 10 children. Then you should have a right to vote against a woman's right to her own body. You should take on the responsibility of every one of those babies. And any babies that are born that are unwanted by their mothers because they are rape babies or these mothers are children, you should have to take on that responsibility. But you're not. No, 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 no. The orphanages are still overflowing. Foster care is still overflowing. Where is your passion for these babies and children that you're claiming you're protecting? You're monsters. You are monsters. There's no other way to see you because women will stop themselves from having babies, especially young women. And if it takes a hanger in a friggin' bathroom, that's what they're gonna do. What is wrong with you people? Have you forgot history? The reason that law went into effect was because so many women were dying from self-abortion because they didn't have the money to support another mouth. I'm sorry. I have anger issues, as you can tell. Um, but this is the best place for me to put them, I think, because every person who voted against abortion should have to take on every child in our system. All of them. I got several of my grandchildren in the system. They don't have a future. Where is your Christianity now? He needs someone to support him, educate him, make sure that he is on the right path. Where's your Christianity now? Huh? You're monsters in my eyes. You're murderers of women who are going to mutilate themselves because you caused it. We had protection against you people. Our Supreme Court, every judge needs to be fired. They're not working for our rights. And if a Supreme Court judge says it's lawful for a 7-year-old child to be given hormones or chemically castrated, I want their kids done first. Set and lead by example. Get your people fixed first. Then we'll talk about the rest of the world. You want population control? Well, nature has it. It's against the Christian morals. Don't you just love it? That Christian morals. Because it made homosexual men and women nature's birth control. And you won't even let them adopt children. Most of them that I know of are in stable long-term relationships, no diseases, and they're very loving couples. And they deserve to be raising children. And there's just so many unwanted by the Christians. So many unwanted children. But the Christians thought this was good to keep homosexuals from raising children because their homosexuality might rub off on that child. Bullshit. You know what? My daughter was the first one to actually raise that subject. My oldest daughter. She was pregnant. And she didn't want to have an abortion. She didn't know what to do. She was in a bad relationship and trying to get out of it. And the biological father at that time, it was not mentally suitable to be raising or even around children. Can't say that now about him. At least I hope he's changed. At least his daughter says so. But, well, my dumbass brought up adoption. I'll put her up for adoption. And I noticed one day she was talking to this guy on the phone, and I said, "Who's that?" And she said, "Oh, it's one of the people I'm interviewing for adopting baby." I said, "Oh, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful." And she talked to them for a good half hour longer and got off the phone. And of course, I'm curious, what's going on with my grandchild. And she said, "Mom, I've been talking to this couple about adopting the baby when she's born. They've offered to pay my medical bills, and they want to adopt her right from birth. Me as a kind of surrogate mother." And I said, "That's wonderful." And she said, "Well, I don't know if you're going to think the next part is wonderful." Okay, throw it out there. Let's hear it. She said, "The couple that I'm seriously considering are two men. They can't get married legally in their state. They've been together over 15 years, both have good jobs, nice home." And I said, "Yeah." And she said, "Mom, it's two men." Yeah. And she had no, nothing else. She was like, "Mom, it's two men. Aren't you shocked?" "No, I'm not. These two men sound like wonderful candidates for adopting my grandbaby. Let's see. My granddaughter is going to be raised like a princess, most likely. Um, she is going to have the best of everything because both parents are solid income earners. They have insurance, they have enough money in reserve to actually pay for the medical bills out of their own pocket and pay for the adoption. Hmm. And they've been together 15 years. So what's wrong with this couple that you are having second thought? Then the worst thing that ever could have happened, at least when I look back now. And I realized it after I did it. My sister contacted me crying one day, just hard. Her and her husband were having a really hard time. He's young. He's wanting a baby. She can't have anymore. Um, he doesn't really act like a dad to her kids because her kids are not little. They were teens when he came into the picture. And she said, well, maybe if we adopt a baby. So I put her in touch with Jen, my daughter. I regret to this day I still have because my sister was adopting that baby for the wrong reasons. She didn't want any small children. She was so mentally broken and emotionally battered that she couldn't help raise a child anymore. But she thought it would make him happy and keep him around. Well, uh, it didn't work out. And it really messed my grandbaby up. At 4 years old, she couldn't talk. She didn't know how to ask for cereal. Her only communications were with her teenage adopted siblings that didn't want her either because she was always their responsibility. And no teenager wants to raise kids. They want to be teenagers and go do teenager things. And my sister was not capable mentally and emotionally to raise this child alone. He turned out to be a real, well, he, last I heard, he was a woman now. And not a pretty one from the pictures I saw. Uh, I heard he was trying to go back, have the breast removed and whatever. I don't know if he actually went all the way to the full surgery, but I know he did get breast implants or hormones or something. But he did end up with a baby with a woman who can't stand him, and he can't stand. Um, his parents disowned him. Of course, his father's a preacher. What do you know? My sister told me, I thought it'd be like you and Bobby. I said, he's nothing like Bobby, though. She said, I know. He's nothing like my husband, so why would you think that was a good match for you? If you thought my husband, someone like him, would be a good match for you. She said, because I thought you taught Bobby. I said, no, I did not. I mean, as we both grew, we both learned. I didn't teach him. He seemed to already know. He was very intelligent, and and that was a big thing. In fact, he was a lot like my sister. That's one of the reasons he and I did get along. I don't know, they say it's your birth sign or something. My sister Patty and I did have a few rifts throughout our life. Well, I mean, we're sisters, of course we did, but not with when it came to um, major things like that. She said, oh, I thought, if I got together with a younger man, maybe I could guide him, kind of like you did Bobby. I said, I didn't guide Bobby. Bobby and I held on to dear life to survive the life we had chosen. It was a challenge at every turn. Okay, here's an example, and this one's going to throw you a little bit. My husband's last name is Reeder, Reder. My biological father's last name is Reeder, Reder. And my biological father adopted my husband years later after I was adopted by my dad, Tony. So we had no blood relation. But when I got a divorce, I went back to my maiden name. I had got tired of carrying Mitchell, and I sure as hell anymore. I carried it for my children once they were old enough. I did let that go out of respect for my husband. And before we could get married, we had to actually go see a lawyer. But since he was not a biological child, but an adopted child by my biological father, we did not grow up together. We grew up in separate states, in separate households. And so he said, no, there's no problem. He said, but you might have an issue when you go to file the paper and they see Reeder to Reeder. And I said, well, fine, I'll use my maiden name, Canistra. And he said, that'll probably make the paperwork easier. Well, that's my adopted maiden name, Reeder, or Canistra. And I don't know if any of my Canistra see this video. I don't know if any of have anything to do with YouTube or anything like that. But I'm very proud to have been my father's daughter. He was a good man and a good father to me. And if anyone should ever tell you I said otherwise, they're not being truthful. Tony was a good father to me. Even though there was abuse, he was still good to me. There was less abuse from him than my biological father, I assure you. And he was also quite protective of me. He treated me kind of like his son, but never forgot I was a daughter. The respect I have for him, no one's past stories can taint it for me because he and I did have a good daughter and father relationship. And when boys broke my heart, they risked their own lives. And that is true. So, to my Canestra ancestors and family, I love you. And I hope you are all doing well. I miss my dad. I really do. Anyway, I have a garden that is indoors. I know you've heard me talk about it before, but that means I have to get up and walk around. And in my house, the signal here is terrible. So I have to get off here because I have some plants I got to tend to before their lighting goes out. I have strawberry plants. I'll show you, try to get pictures of it tomorrow and show you my zucchini plant. Zucchinis already. And my tomatoes are starting to pop their tomatoes, and my cantaloupe are trying to flower. They're having a rough time, but they did go through a tough transition, when I put them in different pots. Um, I do a lot of indoor gardening, and it's because I have a hard time with the elements. And so I gotta go. I gotta pee, and I gotta get these lights taken care of. I will talk to you all later. I'm not sure how to end this. Later, y'all. Hey, like, share, comment, and I love y'all. Take care.